Hello, fellow chemists. Jolly here. This discussion is going to be on formal charges. And again, this is part of figuring out how to do a Lewis structure. Formal charges. All right, now the idea behind formal charges is that there is something that has too many electrons or not enough electrons for where it started. So the jolly definition of this is, if you want to know the formal charge, take what it brought to the party, which is its valence electrons, subtract what it now owns. Now keep in mind owns, not the octet. Subtract what it owns, and overall that will equal the formal charge. So let's take a look at this carbon that I had earlier. All right, how many electrons did carbon bring to the party? It has 4 valence electrons. How many does it still own? Remember, half of that bond belongs to carbon, so it owns 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it owns 4 electrons, and so 4 minus 4 is 0, or there is no formal charge. All right, let's try another one. What about this? All right, so there's my oxygen. Oxygen brought 6 valence electrons with it, and it owns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it owns 6 electrons for an overall 0 formal charge. And if it's 0, you don't have to put anything. But let's take a compare and contrast with this one. So the same thing, it brought 6 electrons with it, but how many does it own right now? It owns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It owns 7 electrons for an overall -1 charge, which you would put just a little charge right next to it. All right, let's do a positive variation. Let's take nitrogen. Nitrogen brought 4 electrons to the party. Wrong. Nitrogen brought 5 electrons to the party, and it only owns 4. One, 2, 3, and 4. So it brought 5 to the party, it owns 4, so for an overall plus charge, and I would just put a little plus right there. Now, is it possible to have +2s and +3s? The further away from 0 you get, remember, nature loves neutral, so it is harder, but yes, it is possible to have more than one charge. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is, can the charges cancel out? And the absolute answer is yes. You just need to know what they're doing. So, for example, let's look at the nitrate. Ion right here. All right, that is the picture of the nitrate ion. Let's check those formal charges. All right, this oxygen, it brought 6 to the party, and it owns 7. So overall, it is a -1. The nitrogen brought 5 to the party, and it owns 4, so it's a +1. This oxygen brought 6 to the party, and it still owns 6, so it's neutral. And this one brought 6, but it owns 7 at the moment, so it is overall a -1. So I have right now a nitrogen that is sitting in the center with a positive. I have 2 oxygens surrounding it that are both negative. And then I have 1 oxygen that is neutral. So overall, I have a +1, -1, -1. So the overall charge is a -1. And notice that is what I was expecting. So when you do the overall formal charge, it has to match. All right, how many formal charges? It has 3 formal charges, but the overall net charge is a -1. So it depends on how that is phrased. Does it have formal charges? Yes. What is its overall charge? A -1. And if you get a net charge, that means it's ionic. What about this one? Let's say we have carbon. And, let's put a hydrogen right there. All right. What about formal charges? All right. Carbon brought how many to the party? It brought 4, and it still owns 1, 2, 3, and 4, so it is 0. Hydrogen brought 1 to the party, and it still owns 1, so it's neutral. And nitrogen brought 5, and it still owns 5, so it's neutral. So is this thing ionic? No, it's neutral. It is not ionic. But this one, how about that one? Nitrogen brought 5, owns 5, but notice carbon brought 4 and owns 5. So it has an overall. So this one is ionic. So that one is ionic. Now, what if they actually cancel each other out, like this one? This carbon brought 4 to the party, and it owns 5. This oxygen brought 6 to the party, and it only owns 5, so it's a +1. Is that ionic? No. It has an overall neutral charge. Is 0, so it is not ionic. So there is a big difference between formal charges and ionic charges. If you're ionic, you have to have formal charges. But if you have formal charges, it does not mean you're necessarily ionic. And that is how you would figure out formal charges. Jolly out.